So if you clicked on this video today, you're obviously thinking about coming to the city of Calgary. So we're going to go over the pros and cons of living in Calgary. Spoiler alert, there's a lot more pros than there are cons. First one that I want to talk about is the weather. Best thing about Calgary, in my opinion, is the amount of sunlight that we get. So you've got over 2,400 hours of sunlight in a year. That's over 333 days of sunshine. It's the most of any major city in Canada, and my favorite thing about living in Calgary. The other thing that we get that is unique to Calgary is the Chinook effect during the winter. So you get warm air coming over the mountains, gets trapped over top of the city. I'm not going to go over the science of it too much, but what you're going to get is negative temperatures moving into positive temperatures for a couple days, sometimes a week at a time. It's a really, really nice break in the middle of winter that helps beat that seasonal affective disorder that hits so many Canadians. So second up, let's get the obvious one out of the way. Obviously the mountains and the outdoor lifestyle around Calgary is an incredible draw to the city and a huge pro. Mountains, you've got skiing, you've got hiking, Kananaskis, you've got similar, you've got the Nordic Lodge, Canmore, Banff, some of the best camping in the world, some of the best fishing in the world. I've lived in Calgary my entire life. I go out to the mountains often. I've only scratched the surface of what you're able to do, and you could spend every weekend out there and still never get everything done that you need to. Absolutely one of the pros of living in Calgary. One of the other things that I hear as a lifelong resident of Calgary is just what a sense of belonging and welcoming the city brings. And it's because we're such a transient city. The city's only 125 years old. And so you don't have many families that are more than 3 generations here. So everybody's transient, everybody's coming in. So what you get is this huge sense of welcoming. Everybody wants you to be a part of the city. It's a diverse city, and everybody is welcome and part of the energy. Another pro is just how many parks are in the city of Calgary. There's 2 main ones. There's Nose Hill Park in the north, and there's Fish Creek Provincial Park in the south. You have basically big wilderness reservoirs in the middle of the city. You have bike paths, you can walk your dogs, you can get out and enjoy the fresh air, and it really just feels like you're out in the wild. There's also a ton of other parks, Edworthy Park, Glenmore Park. I'm here right now on St. Patrick's Island Park. The city has them all over the place, and it really gives you a break from that city lifestyle throughout. Another pro for the city of Calgary is the world famous Calgary Stampede. It's not just for kids, it's not just for adults. The main things about it is the free Stampede breakfast that you get. So you get a pancake breakfast all over the city at all sorts of different bits. That's free bacon, free sausages, free pancakes. There's also fairgrounds that you can bring the family to. For the grown-ups, downtown basically turns into one non-stop party, known for the big party tents, and everybody really gets into the Western lifestyle. Top it off with the biggest rodeo in the world, and that's down at the Calgary Stampede near the Saddle Dome. Okay, on to the cons, and I'm going to cheat a little bit, and I'm going to use the same first con as I used for pros, and that's the weather. And it's because we've got such a varied climate here in Calgary. So the winters in Calgary, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, they can get cold. We can get some spells of -20 to -25. We get 88 days on average of snow per year, so there's 3 months that aren't great. We've got the Chinooks, which I mentioned as a pro earlier on. And so yeah, you do get rapid warming, but with that rapid warming and temperature changes, a lot of people experience headaches. I haven't personally, but I know that my wife does, and it becomes something that you almost can sense the Chinook coming before the weather people tell you if you're one of those people. So it is something to keep in mind. A second con that some people say about the city, and again, I disagree with this one, but is Calgary's lack of history and culture. I think culture's really developed in the last little bit, but where this is coming from is you have people that are coming from places with hundreds of years of history, and really Calgary was just settled as a city a little more than 100 years ago, so you don't get that historical architecture, a lot of the church-inspired architecture that other places, Europe or even Eastern Canada have. But we do have culture, and the history is there. It's just a little bit different than some of the other places. The third con is the urban sprawl that you're going to see in Calgary. So Calgary was originally just this little area downtown. It was the town of Calgary. And over the years it expanded. It was supposed to be a 400,000 person city, became a 1 million person city. So the city just keeps layering and layering and layering. So you get a ton of urban sprawl. So what it means is that you basically have to have a car to get around. There's some communities and areas that are starting to change this, but some people may be struck by commute sizes, especially those on the outer edges. And if you're not inner city, it can be a little bit of a challenge getting from one city to the other to see people in different spots. The last con that I'm going to talk about is Calgary Transit, and it gets a lot of negative press. Some of it deserves, some of it not. But the biggest issues with transit for me is that it really underrepresents Southwest Calgary, Southeast Calgary, and North Central Calgary, with the people in those areas having to take long bus rides to get anywhere close to taking a train that can then get them to different parts of the city. So you can experience 20, 30-minute connectors just to get onto the train line that doesn't necessarily take you where you're looking to go. The other thing that there are expansions for the train, so these are running into budget overruns, a lot of political pressure to stop them happening. It's up in the air whether or not it does happen. I think it will, but it's not something that I would be betting on if I was buying a house in one of those locations. So that's the pros and cons for living in Calgary. I'm sure you could think of some more pros, more cons. If you do, leave them in the comments. If you like the content, do me a favor, like the video, subscribe for more content moving forward. And if you have questions about what it's like to live in the city of Calgary, my contact information is below. I'm always open to a conversation. Hit me up. Until the next video, take care.